Welcome back to the Successful Driver podcast presented by Aero Truck Sales. Thank you all so much for listening today or watching wherever you're at. Really appreciate you taking a little time with us. And I've got someone I'm really excited to talk about today with you guys, Nick Lombardo. He's in our Purchasing and Wholesale Department. Nick, really appreciate you coming on, my friend. Thanks for jumping on this podcast.
Thanks, Kent. Glad to be here. Want to say thank you, a huge thank you to all you guys out there rolling up and down the road every day, bringing us all our goods and services. We really appreciate it. You guys are the backbone, and you guys are the lifeblood of this country. And you've really proven that this year, especially this last 12 months, bringing all the stuff. And now, even more important, anybody that's rolling with COVID vaccines, thank you again. It's making a difference. We love you guys. So keep on trucking, man. We appreciate it.
It's crazy, Nick. 2 episodes in, the sentiment has been the same for people. We talked to Seth a lot, and it was kind of the same thing. There's that thankless job out there that's finally being brought into light. It's crazy, that you're recognizing it too. I mean, there's I think genuinely within this trucking industry, from the fleets to the people like us selling used trucks, selling new trucks, everyone, there's just this genuine appreciation across the industry for what these guys are doing and how they are helping us solve problems here within the pandemic. And it's crazy that you bring it up right off the top of the bat.
Absolutely. I still got very fond memories. I've been out of the retail side of this business, so I don't deal as much directly with a lot of the owner operators. We will buy trucks from owner operators and smaller fleets and companies. Mostly we buy from some of the larger fleets, other dealerships, big leasing companies. But I really miss that interaction with those guys that are working hard every day and rolling up and down the road and kind of are out in the trenches, They've got some great stories. They're great people. They're people from all walks, all colors, all races, all parts of the country, all countries anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just great. It is. It's a great industry to be in. You meet somebody new and different every day, and we're all striving toward the same goal, and it's just to be successful,
Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy. Like I just said, unprompted. We said last week, it's not lost on Aero how much y'all mean to this country. And here we go again, Nick, unprompted. I did want to ask you, just to jump things off here, Nick, I wanted you to just kind of tell us a little bit about your background from Jump Street in the trucking industry, how you got in, what positions, what roles, what perspectives you've had in your life in the trucking industry.
Yeah, that's great. I got in this industry kind of by accident. I was managing the Outback Steakhouse.
Why would you ever leave Outback Steakhouse?
Dude, it was a great gig, but I actually met my wife. I hired my wife at the Outback. And so we met. Well, she was going to graduate college and she was going to get a 9-to-5 job. I'm working in the restaurant industry, and I had seen over the years so many couples meet, fall in love in the restaurant business, and then end up going separate ways because you work so many hours and you work different hours. So I was like, you know what, maybe it's time for me to find something more 8 to 5, kind of more normal job. Had I known then that being in the truck industry was not going to be a normal job, but a good friend recommended, and I actually interviewed originally with Aero, but I didn't get hired with Aero. I got hired with another small company in Kansas City, and took a leap of faith and started selling used trucks, dialing for dollars. And I was there for a short time. I ended up going down through kind of a blessing. A good buddy of mine was a corporate pilot, and he flew Kenny Hoffman and Tim Murphy, who are the owners of MHC, the original founders of MHC. He flew them one day in their jet and got to talking to them. And they're like, he said, hey, I got a buddy that just started selling trucks. They're like, have him call us. We're always looking for good young talent. So I called over there, ended up getting hired, was there for about 5 years. I can't remember. It was from 97 till kind of the end of '02. So almost full 5 years. And primarily just used trucks, just selling used trucks to, anybody that wanted to buy one, owner operators, excavation companies, small fleets, dump truck companies, you name it. Just some great people, a lot of agriculture industry here in the Midwest, met a lot of great people that, will raise cattle or raise crops, and then they truck on the side, and then the trucks facilitate the agriculture operations. So they kind of a little bit of both, but became an F&I manager because I was going to go in the mortgage business, and they actually talked me into staying, and thank God they did, because it was pre 08, 09. If I would have gone in the mortgage business, I probably would have, fallen on my face. But I learned so much in that 1 year of being an F&I manager, because it really opened me up to start talking to more of the fleet side, the business side, and learn a lot of the kind of inner workings and background, and kind of more how to be a business and how to be a successful business, and looking at whatever you're going to do in trucking, looking at it a little bit more professionally. So it really taught me a lot. And it taught me that I didn't want to be in the mortgage business or the finance business. I wanted to go back selling trucks. Right. So after a year, so I ended up taking another job. I left Kenworth, went to another dealership, and wasn't very long there that the guy that I'd worked with at Kenworth had come to Arrow and was the director of the purchasing department. So he brought me on, and I've been here. So that was '03, April of '03. I've been here ever since. I love it. I got the best job in the world. I got a huge checkbook, and I get to go shop and buy trucks every day with that big checkbook for you guys. That's like the kid's dream. Going buying big trucks and trailers every day, real life, and then watch Arrow take those trucks, clean them up, and then put somebody in business with those or help their business. It's just, I get goosebumps kind of thinking about it. Some days, on the days where you're not having a great day, you're like, ho hum. But when I describe to other people what I do, I tell them that exact same thing. I have the best job in the world. I have a huge checkbook, and I get to go buy big trucks for a living. Who wouldn't love to do that, right?
Right. No, for sure, man. That's a fun way of describing what you do. And so it sounds like you've seen a lot of different things. You've been through a lot of different eras of this industry. You've seen some of the dips and the ups and downs that have been associated with the last 30 years of our US economy. So you've seen a lot. We ask this question to everyone that comes on this show. We ask two questions. The first one, what do you think, based on your experience, what you've seen, what do you think makes a successful driver?
I think the biggest thing that makes a successful driver, based on, I'll never forget Sammy Silvers. I don't know why I remember Sammy. Sammy was from Kentucky. Sammy come rolling in a 1980 something Kenworth K100 cabo. He owned the truck, had it paid off, had his own flatbed trailer. I do know the reason I remember Sammy, because Sammy was always looking for not the next load, because he already had that, but he was looking for the load after that. He looked at it from a business standpoint. He was always looking for that next load after the next load. And then in the flatbed business, you can always, he figured out that if he was hauling steel, when he came to Kansas City, he could pick up those big wooden spools down at the electric company, put those on top of the steel, and then haul them and drop them off on the way to where he was unloading his next load. So he was double dipping. He had two loads on, and was getting paid double the miles for part of his trip. Guys that think like that are always looking how to maximize their load, their potential, how to reduce their costs, that look at their business, the guys that would come in and they could tell me as a company driver how much their truck was making the company, were going to be successful, because they knew it. They treated it like a business. It wasn't just a personal purchase. I thought before I got in the truck industry, the decision-making behind buying a commercial truck, a big rig, would be more based on business practices. But when I got in, I was surprised because there was a lot of more personal preference that went into it
Sure.
from a lot of the clients that I talked to. And there still is.
Yeah, no, there definitely still is.
You're going to live in that truck for a week or two at a time. There has to be some personal preferences met, but your main focus has to be on the business side. Otherwise, you're not going to make it. So those guys that I recall that taught me about how they were successful, how they approach their business from a mindset. You know, I think everybody in the business works hard. You know, all truck drivers, extremely hardworking. Otherwise, they wouldn't be driving a truck.
You can't do it. You can't do it without working hard.
You can't. Period. And especially some different aspects, flatbedders. You know, for an example, you know, they're climbing up and down, they're strapping, they're tarping. You know, it's a younger guy's game typically in the industry. The younger guys typically, but the guys and gals that approached it from that business standpoint, from that business mindset, were the ones to me that you could tell pretty quickly, unless extenuating circumstances. You know, some guys just have really catastrophe happen in their life or whatever that causes them to fail. But typically, you know, you could tell people that, you know, are going to be pretty successful, just the way what they already know. They're willing to learn. They don't know, how do I want to put it? They don't know everything they're willing to learn, but they already know enough to where they set themselves up in the right direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great answer. It's a really interesting answer with a lot of layers and stuff to your I mean, I think that kind of reflects just on the perception that you have from a lot of different roles. And I want to ask you this, because now you're in purchasing, your current role. How, like, what is your role in the story here? How do you help drivers find success? What is your role in that story?
Well, what I do, let's go back to 2003 when I started at Arrow. I didn't know. I mean, I was in the retail side of the business, the finance side, never had been in purchasing and wholesale. It's kind of a different side of the industry.
Right.
So when I came on board, I got some good direction from my boss, David. He said, hey, you've been dealing with these finance companies. I want you to call all of your finance company contacts and find out if they have trucks to sell. So right off the bat, I hook up with a guy who I just talked to yesterday who's offering me trucks, Mike Muncie. Now he works at a Mack dealer, but back then he worked for PACCAR Financial Services. And the first group of trucks I bought was from him, Kenworth T600s. So what I did then was just call everybody that I knew that could potentially have trucks to sell, and if they had trucks for sale, take that information, see if it's something that fits into Arrow's wheelhouse. A lot of times we find trucks that we can buy that maybe are a deal, but they don't ever make it to the Arrow front line because it kind of doesn't make the cut. That's what I did at first, was reach out, make those contacts. Some of the contacts I already had. Then you network. You ask those contacts for other contacts. A lot of cold calling. The other thing I would do, I would find trucks, or when I would find trucks to buy, I would go inspect the trucks myself. So you'd fly. Well, anytime you're in a city and you're going to look at trucks, usually where there's trucks, there's other trucks. So I would go call on the other dealers, cold call those other dealers in those cities, call on them and see if they had trade-ins to sell. And to my surprise, a lot of times, some of those used truck managers, some of those sales guys at those dealerships in those cities would introduce me to their clients, to some of their fleets that would have, when they're ready to sell trucks, rather than trading them, they would sell them to us. So it's just simply, once you kind of dip in and start swimming around, it just kind of spreads and takes off. The one thing I can say is for Arrow, looking back, you could always tell when you would go to a place to look at trucks, and the guy's got 10 trucks to sell, and they're all stacked up there. He's got them all lined up for you. But way off in the back, there's 3 trucks that were all pieced and parted out, kind of the salvage yard back there. It always made me a little suspicious. So you're always kind of looking out for quality. You want to make sure you're buying from a fleet, from a dealer that's reputable, quality, and is selling good equipment. I don't want to buy trucks and put them out in Arrow's inventory that have been pieced and parked together from an old salvage truck in the backyard. We want trucks that have been maintained, new parts, not used parts, that are very reputable and on the up and up. And, I'm sure some of those people do a great business and are honest people, but, what Arrow looks for is we want to buy trucks that have been maintained professionally, lots of warranty, et cetera. So looking back on my starting in the industry, that's how I kind of cultivated, developed. The one thing somebody taught me years and years ago in this industry was if you screw somebody over once, it's going to be a hard, long road to overcome it, because it's a big industry, but it's a really small community.
Yep.
So I've always been very deliberate about making sure you're honest, you're representing something the best you can, and it's paid dividends over the years. I've been in the business 25 years, and sometimes it stings, it hurts, you make mistakes, but long term, you're going to be better for it.
So if I said you were one of the gatekeepers for our company for the trucks that we want to put our name to, I mean, I think that's a way I kind of want to put it is,
I've never thought of it that way, but yeah, I guess we are where it's every day. It's in there's a lot more. It isn't just Nick Lombardo making a decision. We have a team of guys that buy trucks, and then a director that's kind of like I told you, he's our Andy Reid for our department. And we are every day, we are wearing each other out. We're round tabling. We're looking at trucks that are offered to us to see if they make the cut. Do they work for Arrow? Are the miles right? What's the warranty? What's the spec? Is this a spec that our guys can sell and that our customers want? What's the background on who's selling it? Where are they coming from? Are they reputable? Is there something, else out there that, there's some companies out there that are a little less than reputable in terms of their business practices. And so we're aware of that on a lot of times, and we want to make sure that we don't want to bring that type of stuff into the company, into the inventory. So, there's a lot that goes into it.
One of the things I've kind of learned about the people that we serve here at Arrow is, a lot of customers, a lot of people that look at our trucks or want to buy our trucks, they already know what the fleet is,
Yeah.
And I think, one of the things you're obviously extremely mindful of is, and what you're talking about here is making sure that we are providing trucks that come from reputable fleets. And the attention to detail that you guys and your team, everyone over there on that side of the building, that the attention to detail you guys put in trying to find these trucks, it ain't lost on me, and I know that I hope it's not lost on the people that we're trying to service. So, I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting. That was my perspective. It's like you guys are kind of the gatekeeper for what we want to put our name to. And obviously, these are used trucks. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel and position it as something it's not. But, at the same time, we want to try to do right and put our names behind the right kind of trucks. So, I really appreciate that perspective. Like we talked a little bit, Nick, you've kind of been, you've worn a lot of different hats. You've been in the trucking industry for the majority of my life, to try to make you feel a little bit old here. I want to know, you've been, what, how many years have you been in the industry now? What's the math on that?
25 years. I started in November of 96.
November of 96. I was 7 years old, my friend.
Wow. But you know what? I mean, there are days that it's been a blink, and there are days that I don't feel that seasoned. I don't feel like one of the old guys. I still feel because the industry is always changing. There's an evolution. The equipment's changing. What sold well when I was in retail back in 97, 98, 99 doesn't necessarily isn't the best today. And the way we sold, the way we didn't have cell phones when I started. We didn't have computers. I had a printed off piece of paper, inventory sheet, and that's it. I used to go out with either a Polaroid camera, which some of our customers probably don't even know what that is. Polaroid camera is, you push the button and a picture zooms out and you let it develop right there. And but we would buy exposure, like 10 exposure, 35 millimeter. And we go out in the morning and take our pictures of the trucks, because customers, the internet wasn't even really, a lot of companies weren't even advertising on the internet yet. So yeah, part of my day was going out, taking pictures of truck, walking around trucks, showing the good, the bad, whatever of the truck, and then going up to Walmart or the 1 hour photo on my lunch break, getting the pictures developed, coming back and putting them in the mail and sending them off to a customer. So the transaction time was so much longer.
Right.
So yeah, there's so many things that now that I look back and reflect were different, but yet it's still kind of the same. I mean, we're still hauling freight. We're still hooking to trailers, running down the road, but I guess it moves at such more of a lightning pace now than it ever had before. But yeah, I kind of got off track. But
no, it's good. I was actually about to ask you just, the biggest difference in the industry from when you started to now. You kind of talk a lot about, the technological changes, the sales cycle being so much more rapid, the immediacy of that information, how difficult it was to obtain information or even provide information. Those are all things that obviously the gaps have changed. I think for the better too, because it's, I think, the way I look at it is it's harder to, I don't want to say it's harder to pull a fast one, but I think it's just, there's a lot of value in trying to be as accessible to our customers and provide as much information as we can. And I think the technology gap makes it more of a requirement for this industry to do that. And I think that's a big, important factor in our, we talk about the show. Our success is your success. Your success is our success. I mean, we want to do right by our customers because we can't sustain our business if the people that we put in trucks, the trucks that we put our name to, don't have success. So I think, you talk about the gap in information and the changes. Trying to provide as much information as we can and about these trucks, I think, has been a valuable asset for us, for everyone. But I think the people that are able to sustain success in this industry now are the ones that are not trying to hide information, if you know what I'm saying. So, outside of that, is there any other big differences that you're noticing from the industry then to now?
Yeah, I mean, like we said, the technological tools that I have utilized for me today would be probably the biggest change. The technological advancements on the trucks is the other thing. When I started, 96 wasn't that long ago, but Detroit Diesel Corp came out with the first fully electronic engine. In other words, it had a computer, an ECM on the truck.
Yeah.
Caterpillar had one, but it wasn't fully electronic, didn't have the same capacity. And then the Cummins, we took in a group of trades that it was a mechanical engine, had a mechanical pump on it. So you couldn't tell the actual original miles by plugging into it. There was no fault codes, no check engine light. I mean, there probably was, but it was just minor sensors here and there, ABS sensors, whatever. So yeah, the technological advancements have been just in that 25 years is just, in the whole scheme of things, it's really just a blink. Sure. But the technological advancements we've seen in that time period are just immense, and they just continue to grow. I mean, look now the automated transmission, which you would think, it still blows my mind that it took this long for the automated transmission to kind of take hold in the industry. Right. Because why would you want to have to shift, not only shift, but 10, 12, 13, 18 gears? And it used to be the more gears, the happier the driver was. And now,
well, I think that's part of it. There was like a point of pride. in shifting your own gears. Like that's one of the things that we heard some feedback, there's a little bit of point of pride there. They don't want that automatic. They want to do it themselves.
And I think a lot of bragging at the truck stop. Yeah, my KW's got 18 gears, baby. How many gears you got?
No,
but yeah, so that probably reflecting back, just the technological advancements, the advancements in general on the trucks. Kenworth, I think, at least they said they were, because I worked there, made the first big move toward aerodynamics with and drivers, people kind of didn't like it. It was called the anteater, but those aerodynamic designs reduced fuel economy so much that it legitimately made a huge difference. I could show a guy on paper that an aerodynamic truck versus a big hood could literally make up 1 to 2 payments, 1 to 2 truck payments just in fuel savings. And if you could convince a guy, again, that guy that was business mindset, that was in this for making profit, he could look at that, and he's looking at 2 different trucks that are virtually identical other than the hood. I knew I had them. If they had listened to me and I could sell them on paper, I knew that I had an opportunity for them to want to buy the aerodynamics.
Sure.
And like you went back, I knew if I could help them be successful and make more money with fuel economy from aerodynamic standpoint, from the type of engine, electronic engine typically did better than the mechanical engine. Those things, I knew if those guys could be successful, they might tell somebody else that would buy a truck from me, or they might come back and buy a truck from me. And there were multiple customers that I'd sold used trucks to that came back and graduated, ended up buying brand new trucks because they made enough money to take that next leap and further their business. So,
yeah,
that was, reflecting back, that's.
No, it's great, man. No, that's great. I look at, so, you're buying a lot of 16s, 17s, 18s. You're talking about, how, the changes in technology in the trucks that are being sold that are out on the road. Do you think all these technological advances, does it give you a heightened level of confidence in the units that we're selling, that are out there available for these customers as a business tool for these guys to wind up having success? Like, you're looking at this era that you're really primarily buying 16 to 18. What is your thoughts on these units, and as far as the growth and progression of this industry? Do you think that they're kind of valuable and quality business tools?
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing too is, because of the volume of trucks that we're able to see we've got 5 buyers. We talk to so many different people in the industry. We're involved with the Used Truck Association, but you got to look also. Yes, there's definitely value in 2 to 3 year old trucks and buying from quality individuals. But additionally, there's data that we get, both feedback from the fleets and from different people that may have had problems with certain trucks.
Mm-hmm.
We're usually kind of on the front side of hearing about problems and issues. I'm not going to go in to name names, but there'd been some manufacturers in the past that had some serious engine issues that the industry basically kind of cast those engines aside for a while.
I think our industry, our listeners can put 2 and 2 together on that.
Yeah, I'm sure they can. So, but when you're going through the volume that we do here at Arrow, and you have your network out there, we're on the cutting edge of hearing about the things not to look for, or the things to be concerned or aware of, and that's, again, talking to some of the fleets that we talk to about, what are you hearing about? There's always new stuff coming out. What are you hearing about this? Is this working well? Is it not working well?
That's helping us formulate our opinions on the units that we're purchasing.
Absolutely. But we also can, just from an information standpoint, we share that with you guys in the marketing department. We share that with retail.
Yep.
Just the intelligence that we have available to us is invaluable. I know that's one of the reasons with our relationship with Volvo and Mac Corp. One of the big values that Arrow adds to that relationship is the data, but also
Sure.
the industry intelligence that we can gain through being so involved and immersed into so many different areas in the industry.
For sure.